Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced today that cities opposing immigration raids can expect a different kind of raid on their finances. In a press conference, Sessions said sanctuary cities will lose millions of dollars in federal funds supplied by the DOJ.
The American people are not happy with these results. They know that when cities and states refuse to help enforce immigration laws, our nation is less safe. Failure to deport aliens who are convicted of criminal offenses puts whole communities at risk.
Well, by happy coincidence, today was also the start of the first ever Sanctuary Cities Conference. Such a thing exists. Politicians from around the country converged on New York to discuss strategies for ignoring and subverting our country's immigration laws. We'll talk to one of the conference speakers in just a minute. But first, here is Fox News senior correspondent Rick Leventhal, who was inside the Sanctuary Cities Conference. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Tucker, they say there's no such thing as a coincidence, so we're not really sure why the AG chose today to speak out against sanctuary cities at the same time that this first ever national conference supporting sanctuary cities was getting underway. But that's exactly what happened. A group of politicians and activists very, very opposed to the Trump administration's immigration policies. They say their goal is to support undocumented immigrants and find legal avenues not to cooperate with ICE, to protect school and other records and limit the sharing of information with the feds.
January 20th was a tragic, tragic day for our nation. But January 21st was far more important. And we look forward to working with all of you to write the next chapter in our nation's history.
Trump declared war on all of us, on who we are, who we love, what we stand for. And because this administration represents such an existential threat, we have seen a tremendous upswelling of public resistance.
This conference is being led by the Speaker of the New York City Council, who says that sanctuary cities are actually safer than non-sanctuary cities, and she says that the President and Attorney General have no right to withhold funds from places that fail to comply with the law.
New York City is the safest city in this country. And so, you know, if the President wants to put that at risk to make a point to a dwindling base of support, then he is being extremely irresponsible, but that's nothing new for this administration.
This conference continues tomorrow morning, Tucker. One of the panel discussions is titled Reducing the Risk of Deportation.
Rick Leventhal in New York. Thanks, Rick. Well, Cristobal Alex is the president of the Latino Victory Fund, which aims to increase Hispanic voter turnout for the sake of achieving liberal policy objectives. He's attending the conference, and he joins us now. Cristobal, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
So it's quite a conference, according to some of the remarks that we have here. So the head of the New York City Council, Melissa Viverito, said that enforcing our immigration laws, said this at the conference, American immigration laws was tantamount to ethnic cleansing. Do you agree with that?
I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that the speaker invited us to this amazing conference, which is the first of its kind in the country. The idea behind the conference was to bring together local officials from around the country to develop policies that will strengthen sanctuary city policies and protect immigrants. And the speaker, Melissa Viverito, is a champion for progressive values, a champion for immigrants. And the point that she was trying to make is that sanctuary cities are actually much safer. And what Jeff Sessions and what this Department of Justice are trying to do is pass draconian laws that will make it much harder and unsafe for our citizens.
Okay, I've heard this before, and just to be clear, there's no social science to support your position on that. There are no actual studies that show a sanctuary city is safer. Sorry, but I want to get back to what she said. No, there's no disagreement. I mean, there haven't been studies on that show it.
Well,
and
let
if
me
you have one,
just
I'd
correct
love to
you
see
there.
it.
Sure, I mean, I can talk about it right now. The most comprehensive study to date is a University of California study done by Ted Wong. It basically looked at sanctuary cities across the country, and it said that there's 35.5 fewer crimes committed per 10,000 in sanctuary cities than non-sanctuary cities. It also said it's even better in smaller municipalities, and importantly, sanctuary cities have stronger economies, lower poverty rates, lower uninsured rates.
I'm sorry, I don't want to waste either one of our times here. That's not causation. There's no established connection between those two. It's merely speculative. But I want to get back to what the head Well, it is. I mean, that hasn't been proved. So, like, that's just the state of play here.
Well,
but let's get back to what she said.
I hate to push back, but look at New York City, for example. This is the safest big city in the country.
I get it. I've lived in New York.
City.
I'm not denying, but there's no evidence that one causes the other. So let's not waste our time. I want to get back to what. But by the way, this is an interesting conversation. I don't understand why it needs to be a racial conversation. I don't understand why, if you disagree with someone on immigration policy, that person needs to be a racist, needs to be committing ethnic cleansing. And the head of the New York City Council made that claim today. You don't speak for her, but I want to know what you think of that.
Well, I greatly respect the head of the New York City. She's amazing. She's an incredible leader. She's the first Hispanic to ever hold that position, and I look forward to seeing what she does next in her career. But the point that the conference is trying to get across is that sanctuary cities ultimately are not going to resolve the problem that we've got here. I think you and I can both agree
but that's not the point.
that the problem is around comprehensive immigration reform. And we've got to pass that.
Do me the favor of addressing what she actually said.
You'll need to
that
ask
it was
her
ethnic
directly.
Cleansing. Okay, but do you think that why does it always take a turn into racial demagoguery? You're accusing Trump of being a racial demagogue, and then when people say things like ethnic cleansing, murdering people because of their race, come on now.
Look,
that's a horrible thing to say.
I'm not going to speak for the speaker, but what I will say is this. The evidence which we just debated shows sanctuary cities are safer, but ultimately the reason why we're having this debate today is because of what happened on Friday. On Friday, you had President Trump and the Republican Congress have the most colossal failure that we've seen to pass a major milestone legislative piece, and that's Trump Care. They couldn't pass it after 7 years of complaining about it. And so to change the subject, what they've done is to pivot immediately on Monday to attack the vulnerable. Again, that's the immigrants, and that's part and parcel for what this administration
spare me
does.
the political analysis. I mean, whatever you think of these policies, you disagree. He's been talking about them since the first day he announced for president. So you can't say this is something he came up with yesterday in order to divert attention from something from which everyone is obviously paying attention. But here's my question: what is the effect on people already in this country? What do you make of the effect? We know for a fact that when you flood the zone or a labor market with lower wage labor, it depresses wages. That's called supply and demand. You're familiar with that, I know, as an educated man.
We just had a debate about the economy in these sanctuary cities, and they're better in these sanctuary cities. So I think that creates a new question, which I think ultimately we've got to answer that together, which is the country a better place when you have immigration? And I would argue that it is. Maybe you would argue that it isn't.
No, I'm not, but I'm not arguing that, and I'm hoping you'll give me a straight answer. You believe in supply and demand, presumably. It's a natural law as well as an economic principle. If you have an overabundance of something, its value falls. If people are willing to work for less, what does it do to wages for people already there? They go down. We've seen wages fall or remain stagnant. So, there's no denying there's a connection. What do you think of that?
So I disagree with you. Here's what I disagree with, because
on what basis?
In the study I just referenced a minute ago, the most comprehensive study to date says that in cities that are sanctuary cities, the wages are actually higher. And I will share that study with your staff, and I hope when you update your book, which I know is happening, that we can do that. But let me just put it this way.
This is insulting.
Tucker,
you're telling me, look, New York City is a rich city because American finance is headquartered there. And so that's where the money comes from in New York City. Well, you pointed to New York. You can point to Chicago, same thing. It has nothing to do with the immigrant labor there, which depresses wages for everyone, including naturalized immigrants, and I'm wondering if you care.
Well, here's the thing. I disagree with you. And you
How can you disagree with that?
Hold on. You mentioned you used to live in New York City. Here's the thing. In New York City, and you've seen this on the subways, there's a campaign. It says, see something, say something. And what these policies that are designed to defund and take money away from local police do is it means instead of see something, say something, you see something and don't say anything because immigrants are going to be afraid to go to law enforcement.
Right.
And so this is the height of hypocrisy. If you want to make these local communities safer, you move resources to local law enforcement. You don't take resources away from local law enforcement.
The government is making a pretty clear argument, which is obey our laws or don't take our money. And that seems like a pretty reasonable argument. If you're living in your parents' house and they say there's a curfew at 11 and you come home at 12, you shouldn't be surprised when they say get your own apartment. I mean, that's kind of the argument here. It's not about law enforcement or safety. My question to you is, what's a good number? We've got about 11 million people at least living here illegally. How many do you think we should have?
Look, to your point about saying if you don't follow my rules, I'm going to take away your money. This is the first time I think that I can think of where conservatives around the country who have fought for state rights and have fought for federalism say all of that applies except when it comes to immigration.
Well, don't hang that up. I'm not here to speak for conservatives. I'm asking you a simple question.
Look,
and the question is this: what's a good number? We have about 11 million, we think. We don't know, but we think it's about 11 million people here illegally. No other country has that many. No other country, as you well know. What's a good number for us? At what point should we say that's too many or not enough?
Here's what I will say. Obviously, sanctuary cities are not the ultimate fix for this broken immigration system. Congress, even though this Congress can't get it done, Republicans control every branch of government. They can't pass Trump care. But at the end of the day,
stop with the propaganda.
At the end of the
Just
day, you're going to have
answer
to
the
pass
question.
a law to fix this system.
Okay, but
so I'm not a policymaker. I'm not going to tell you.
No, you're not a policymaker. You're a policy
hold
on. You're a policy advocate who is pushing for a certain set of positions based on your beliefs. And my question as an American citizen is, how many illegals in this country is too many? Have you given that any thought at all? Since you're pushing for more tolerance of illegals, like, what would be a good number for us? Should we have 22 million? Is 10 too many? Like, what's your view of that?
Look, this is a country built on immigrants. Immigration is the fabric of our nation.
Is the country built on illegal immigrants?
The country
really?
is the strongest country in the world because of immigration. And so, yes, instead of building walls, we should be building bridges. We should be fixing our immigration system.
I'm sorry. I'm getting frustrated because you guys always fall back on these bumper stickers. Do you ever engage with the ideas? Do you ever think, my job is to advocate for illegal aliens? How many should we have? Do you ever, work through what you actually believe, or do you always go back to we're a nation of immigrants and we should build bridges, not walls? I mean, I'm sincerely asking you that.
Look, you and I have some strong disagreements when it comes to immigration.
We're not even disagreeing. You're not even answering.
You're completely entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts. When the facts say that cities that are sanctuary cities do better in the economy,
okay, but that's
the
yet
country
another
does
cliche.
better
I'm
with
just going to ask you one last time. Do you think 11 million illegals is a lot? Why doesn't any other country have that many? And how many should we tolerate before we say that's too many?
What I'll say is that the immigration system is broken. We need to welcome immigrants into this country, and that's what makes this country strong.
Okay. Mr. Criswell, Mr. Alex, rather, thanks a lot for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.